Colonel Marcus Reed had spent 23 years in the United States Army, climbing through the ranks with a combination of tactical brilliance and unwavering confidence. By 2019, he'd earned command of a forward operating base in a contested region where American forces were conducting joint training exercises with allied nations. Reed was known for his sharp mind and sharper tongue, particularly when it came to assessing foreign military capabilities. "Gentlemen," Reed announced during the pre-exercise briefing, gesturing dismissively at the dossiers spread across the conference table, "I've reviewed the profiles of our international participants. While I appreciate our allies' enthusiasm, let's be realistic about what we're dealing with here. Their sniper programs are decades behind ours. This exercise will be more of a teaching opportunity than a competition." Captain Sarah Chen, Reed's executive officer, shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, some of these shooters have impressive records. The Finnish team, for instance." "Paper credentials," Reed interrupted, waving his hand. "There's a difference between shooting in controlled conditions and performing under real pressure. Our boys have been doing this at the highest level for generations. These foreign teams are going to learn what world-class marksmanship actually looks like. The joint sniper exercise was designed to test the world's elite marksmen across 5 grueling days. Teams from Finland, Canada, Australia, Norway, and several other nations had sent their finest shooters. The American team, handpicked by Reed himself, consisted of Marine Scout snipers and Army Rangers with multiple combat deployments. Reed's confidence wasn't entirely unfounded. The U.S. military had invested billions in sniper technology, training facilities, and combat experience. His shooters carried state-of-the-art rifles, the latest optics, and had access to resources that made other nations envious. In Reed's mind, this competition was already decided. Day 1 began with a long-range precision challenge. Targets at 800, 1,000, and 1,200 meters in varying wind conditions. Reed stood in the observation tower with visiting dignitaries ready to showcase American superiority. The first shooter-up was Corporal Jake Morrison, one of Reed's top men. Morrison's first 3 shots were solid. 2 hits, 1 near miss due to an unexpected wind gust. Respectable, but not perfect. Then came Sergeant Jari Mäkinen from Finland. Reed barely knew anything about the Finnish team. Finland wasn't known for its military interventions or high-profile operations. They were a small, neutral nation focused on defense. What could they possibly know about advanced marksmanship? Everything, as it turned out. Mäkinen approached the line with a rifle that looked almost antiquated compared to the American equipment. But when he settled into position, something changed. His breathing became imperceptible. His movements were economical, almost mechanical in their precision. His spotter whispered calculations that seemed to factor in variables Reed's team hadn't even considered. 5 shots, 5 perfect hits, including one at 1,200 meters that struck dead center despite a crosswind that had troubled every previous shooter. Reed frowned. "Lucky wind, Red," he muttered. Captain Chen said nothing but made a note on her tablet. Day 2 brought urban environment scenarios, shooting from elevated positions through windows, around obstacles, with limited time to acquire targets. This was where combat experience should have made the difference. Reed's team had done this for real in Fallujah, Kandahar, and a dozen other hostile cities. The Canadian sniper, Corporal Michael Boisvert, treated the course like a symphony. He moved through positions with fluid grace, his shots coming in rapid succession, each one a kill. His situational awareness was extraordinary, anticipating target locations before they appeared, as if he could read the exercise. Designer's mind. "He's been studying the course layout," Reed insisted. "Probably got intel from someone, but the Norwegian team performed equally well, as did the Australians. Each brought different techniques, different philosophies, but all demonstrated mastery that couldn't be dismissed as luck or cheating." By day 3, Reed's confidence had developed cracks. The cold shoot challenge, where snipers had to engage targets immediately after a 5-mile approach march, should have favored the physically superior American team. Instead, a Swedish shooter named Eric Lindstrom, who looked like he weighed maybe 160 pounds soaking wet, delivered a performance that left Reed speechless. Lindstrom had barely broken a sweat during the march. His first shot came within 7 seconds of reaching the firing position, hitting a target 600 meters away. His follow-up shots were equally precise, demonstrating a kind of calm efficiency that Reed had rarely seen even in his best operators. "How?" Reed asked one of the Swedish observers. "How is he so composed after that march?" The Swedish colonel smiled. "In our country, every citizen trains for military service. We don't have your resources, so we focus on fundamentals, efficiency, mental discipline." Eric grew up hunting in forests where if you don't make the first shot count, you go hungry. That's a different kind of pressure than your soldiers face on a range. Reed had no response. Day 4 was the stalking challenge, the ultimate test of fieldcraft. Snipers had to approach within 200 meters of observer positions without being detected, then take a shot without revealing their location. This was an art form that required patience, understanding of terrain, and an almost supernatural ability to become invisible. Reed's team performed well. Years of training in the art of concealment showed. But then the Finnish pair reappeared, or rather didn't appear. The observers never spotted Mäkinen and his partner, not once. They simply materialized at the shot line, took their shots, and vanished again like ghosts. When the judges reviewed the footage, they discovered that Mäkinen had been within 150 meters for over an hour, completely invisible despite being in relatively sparse cover. His camouflage wasn't high-tech military gear. It was natural materials, applied with such skill that he'd become part of the landscape. "Unbelievable," Reed whispered, watching the replay for the third time. Captain Chen finally spoke up. "Sir, perhaps we should reconsider our assessment of these teams. They're not lucky. They're legitimate world-class operators with different methodologies that may be just as valid as ours." Reed wanted to argue, but the evidence was overwhelming. His carefully selected American team was being matched, and sometimes surpassed, by shooters from nations he'd barely considered serious military powers. The final day brought the stress shoot. Multiple scenarios designed to induce fatigue, mental pressure, and physical exhaustion before each shot. Hostage situations, time-critical decisions, shots while wearing gas masks, shooting after exposure to flashbangs. Everything designed to strip away technique and reveal raw skill. The Australian team excelled here. Their training philosophy emphasized adaptability and mental toughness over perfect conditions. Sergeant David Walsh, a veteran of operations in Afghanistan and Iraq, performed under pressure like a machine, never rattled, never rushed, never missing. When the final scores were tallied, Reed stood silently as the results were announced. The American team placed 3rd overall. Finland took 1st, Canada 2nd. Norway, Australia, and Sweden all outperformed expectations. In the closing ceremony, Reed was expected to say a few words. He approached the microphone, his carefully prepared speech about American excellence suddenly feeling hollow. He looked out at the assembled snipers, men and women from a dozen nations, each representing different philosophies, different resources, but equal dedication to their craft. "I came into this exercise with certain assumptions," Reed began, his voice steady but humble. "I assumed that superior resources meant superior capability, that our technology and combat experience would carry the day. I was wrong." He paused, making eye contact with Mäkinen, Boisvert, Lindstrom, Walsh, and others who had humbled him. "What I learned this week is that marksmanship, true marksmanship, isn't about equipment or budget. It's about discipline, dedication, and respect for the craft. You've taught me that excellence comes in many forms, shaped by different cultures and circumstances. The Finnish shooter who learned his trade in frozen forests has wisdom my operators need. The Canadian who trains in diverse terrain brings adaptability we should study. Each of you has something to teach." Reed took a breath, feeling the weight of his arrogance lifting. "On behalf of the United States Army, I apologize for underestimating you, and I thank you for the education. We came here thinking we'd be teachers. Instead, we've been students. That's a gift I won't forget." The applause was genuine, respectful. Later, over coffee, Reed found himself in deep conversation with the Finnish colonel, discussing training methodologies, asking questions instead of making assumptions. "Your man Makinen," Reed said. "His fieldcraft is extraordinary. How do you develop that level of skill?" The Finnish officer smiled. "Necessity. We have a long border with Russia and a small population. Every soldier must be exceptional because we don't have the numbers to be mediocre. We learn from our history. The Winter War taught us that a motivated defender with superior skill can overcome larger forces with better equipment. We never forgot that lesson." Reed nodded slowly, understanding dawning. His entire perspective had been shaped by American military dominance, by decades of technological superiority. He'd forgotten that other nations, facing different challenges, had developed their own paths to excellence. Sometimes more refined precisely because they couldn't rely on overwhelming resources. The exercise ended with a joint barbecue, where snipers from different nations shared stories, techniques, and mutual respect. Reed watched his shooters mingling with their international counterparts, learning, adapting, growing. Captain Chen approached him. "Penny for your thoughts, sir?" "I was thinking about hubris," Reed admitted. "How dangerous it is, how it blinds you to reality. I spent 23 years convinced that American methods were the only methods worth considering. This week proved me wrong. The question is, what do we do with that knowledge?" "We learn," Chen said simply. "We incorporate their techniques into our training. We build relationships. We get better." Reed smiled, a genuine expression of humility and determination. "Yes, we get better. Because that's what professionals do. They learn from everyone, especially those they underestimated." The following year, Reed returned to the United States and completely restructured his command's sniper training program. He brought in Finnish instructors to teach fieldcraft, Canadian specialists to focus on adaptability, Norwegian experts on cold weather operations. The program became internationally acclaimed not for its technology, but for its wisdom gained by accepting that excellence has no single nationality. Reed never forgot the lesson those foreign snipers taught him. Respect is earned through performance, not reputation, and the moment you stop learning from others is the moment you stop being truly professional.